So welcome back to another episode of Walkin Talkin with Tim. There you go.
There I go.
And today's guest is Stacey Myers. Now, Stacey works for the Gloucester County Chamber of Commerce. I got to slow her down a little bit. She's getting ahead of me.
Sorry about that.
And she is I'm going to let her tell you her title because it's too darn long for me to remember. Hit him.
The event planner and member relations of the Gloucester County Chamber of Commerce.
Boom. There you go. So tell our audience what exactly it is that you do at the Chamber and why you're passionate about doing it.
Well, I plan all of our events at the Gloucester County Chamber of Commerce to help our members have an experience. We base our events on experiential event planning, which kind of took a little different, right? You've been to some
A little
of our
getting
events.
used to?
A little getting used to. I always want to make sure our members are happy, content, they feel like they're home. There's always something good for them to eat, to drink. And then, of course, networking, and then
You do a lot of introductions too.
a lot of introductions, of course. Well, that comes with
You're the I said this about Jeff Harris, but you and Jeff are like the Care Bears of all the networking society. You know, like everybody wants to see everybody sees you like, oh, Stacey, and it's all a big hug and how are you, how you been. So you guys are like magnets for all
Thank
that
you.
good stuff, right?
Thank
you know,
you.
so it's good stuff. So so let's start right out here because I'm going to start talking about your husband Sean, because you told me how you met him.
Yes.
And it was it was a not so blind date, right?
No, it was a not so blind date. Yes, it was.
So tell him how you met him.
Well, my husband is 13 years older than I am, and the gentleman I dated before him, prior to my husband, was 11. So I told the person who wanted to set us up on a blind date. They asked me how old he was. I asked them how old he was, and they told me. I said,
Nope.
no, definitely not. So I would say a week or two later, my roommate and I at the time were out to lunch, and the person who was going to fix us up's husband was there with him, and he said, this is Sean. And I secretly said, wow, he's cute. He had these long sideburns at the time, though, so
They had to go.
they had to go. So I did say, okay, the age, he's real cute, but
There you
as long
go.
as he does something
Sean, you're a handsome young man.
as long as he does something with those sideburns, we're good. So he came to where I was working.
Magically, the sideburns disappeared.
Magically, the sideburns were gone.
Boom.
Yep. We met in January, engaged in April, married in July.
Wow.
That's our story. Yes.
And you've got 3 children.
We do. We have my stepdaughter Jenna, who I met when she was 8, and she's 29 now. We have Zachary, who is 18, and Dylan, who is 16.
Roger that. So I do know a little bit about your boys. Zach, swimmer,
Swimmer and diver.
accomplished swimmer.
Diver. Comp both. But he's
a diver.
Yes, diver.
Gotcha. And your other son is actually going to do some of this
He is.
stuff.
He sure is.
Digital media. And he's also into theater, which my daughter was into, which I get it. It's a lot of fun to watch,
Oh,
right?
it's great to watch. It's great to watch your kid up on stage singing and dancing.
There's
and,
nothing more fun than doing that, actually.
Yes, their personality just...
You're wondering, who
amazing.
is that? Is that my kid? You know?
Yeah, the hands are going.
Yeah, they're singing,
like,
they're learning lines. Like, what?
I had no idea he could sing or dance.
No idea
Look
there
at
was
this.
talent, right?
Look at this.
Amazing. So I did see some of that, though. Very cool.
Thank you.
Then I want to go right into, you said that your family's from Philly.
They are.
So mom was from, let me see if I can remember this. Dad was South Philly.
Dad's South Philly, yes.
And mom was Olney.
She was, yes.
So, and then you ended up in New Jersey because of Sean, right?
Correct.
Because
Yes.
Sean bought a house in Pittman.
Sean had the house in Pittman prior to us meeting, correct.
So let's tap on that for a second, because
Okay.
everybody loves Pittman, right?
Everybody loves Pittman,
And,
yes.
and everybody that lives in Pittman loves Pittman.
Yeah.
Shout out to Jeff Sanders, because he's Mr. Pittman, right?
He is. He even knows all the history. You talk to Jeff, he'll tell you everything.
So tell us what you like about Pittman.
Honestly,
And you're involved too.
I am involved, and I sit on the Pittman Chamber Board, and I also sit on the Pittman EDC Committee. Peter Slack revitalized the theater 12 years, a long time ago. I want to say 12 years ago. But the street is incredible, and we have ice cream shops, and we have our Fourth Fridays, and we have the Broadway Theater where my son did his show, and
Yeah.
everybody's just happy to be there. And there's a lot of beauty salons, and there's all different
Craft fairs.
And
You have one of the most powerful
Yes,
craft fairs in South
we
Jersey.
do. We do. And everybody it's a helpful town. Everybody wants to.
It's just a quiet, cool little small town with an awesome little main street.
It does.
Like there's not a lot of that left in New Jersey. It's like Mayberry, right?
My cousin came from Florida, and she asked me. She said, "Hey, are you gonna know anybody?" I said, well, yeah, maybe a couple people who went to a fair, and I substitute taught at the time, so the kids were saying, "Hi, Mrs. Myers," and then the adults were talking. She said, "This is Mayberry."
This is Mayberry.
What is this? I've never seen anything like it before. To me, I'm used to it.
I know, right? It's amazing.
But yeah, it is a great, it's a great, wonderful, warm, welcoming town with a lot of volunteerism, and it's a happy place.
Roger that. So let's talk about, you're a very spiritual person. You're very intuitive person, and we talked a lot about that while we were walking around. And you talked about your love of stones and gems and painting and all the stuff that goes along with that.
Yes.
But mainly the stones, because she made me this bracelet today.
I did.
Very cool. And it's supposed to put me in a good mood. So
I'm hoping.
I think it's working. So talk about that. You talked about what got you into that, but why do you like it so much? What's so cool about it?
I think honestly, well, first of all, it helps relax me. When I meet somebody or for a gift, I love to make the bracelets. I kind of like to match the stones that I feel with their personalities or with the symbolism behind what the stone means, and I'll kind of make them a bracelet towards that. But it's also again, calming, and I enjoy doing it. I feel like just when I was young, I'd bring my mother socks. She was looking for socks.
Right.
I would bring them to her, and she'd say, "Wait, how did you know I was looking for socks?" It's just always.
You're not even sure.
I'm not even sure. I just always wanted to help. I always wanted to help. I always wanted to do nice things for people.
And you talked about that. You talked about giving, the giving mentality. So talk a little bit about that too, because that is really who you are, right? That's what you told me. You believe makes a difference in you being on this planet.
I do. I believe that if you can leave this planet, making life better for other people, or even just one person, that will trickle down. I think a lot of people are in search of, what they want or need. I wake up every morning and I'm grateful that I have a roof over my head. My kids are awesome. I have a great husband. Just all those things coupled together, that allows me to help me do my job. And, working for the chamber, I am allowed to help make connections. And, if somebody needs or asks for something, I will do my best to, make it happen. Not just because it's my job, but because I love doing it.
Right. You love helping people, period.
I do, period. I just really that's what I guess, generally that would be a sort of purpose.
Yeah. And so we got to talk about the sunflower.
Yes.
The sunflower is very important because I've heard about the sunflower so many times because throughout COVID, it was kind of like your story, right? You kept telling people about the sunflower, right?
Yes.
I heard about it during COVID. And then after COVID, you're like, it grew 9 feet tall. So talk about the sunflower. And you said to me, I'm trying to think of the two words, about the shape of the flower.
Well, sacred geometry.
Sacred geometry.
Yes.
So let's talk about the sunflower and sacred geometry.
So actually there's two sunflowers. The one sunflower, my son and I, when COVID hit, so what are we going to do? So we started a garden. So I took some sunflower seeds and then we planted them in the front of the house. And I saw my husband out there the one day. He was going to pull one out. It's a weed. I said, no, that's not going to be a weed. I knew that was a sunflower. But in the front of my house there was also another. It looked like it could have been a weed, so I took a picture of it, and when things started to get a little better, took it to the flower shop, and like, no, don't take it out, that's not a weed.
Right.
This bloomed into this magnificent, 2 weeks later, bloomed into this magnificent sunflower, which the picture still sits on my shelf. Inside the sunflower was this beautiful shape. And I looked at my kids, who look at me funny sometimes also. I said, the key to the universe is inside that flower. That is the perfect shape. It just couldn't have been more beautiful. Fast forward a couple months later, I was at Riverwinds with some friends, and somebody was talking about it, showed them the picture of my sunflower and the shape inside. Isn't that amazing? He said, that's sacred geometry. That's the flower of life, the seed of life, the flower of life. There's all these symbols that are found in nature, snail shells and the Fibonacci sequence and all of these things that you can find in nature that it just kind of shows that we're all connected. So, I definitely took a liking to sacred geometry and researched that a little bit more in my spare time, which isn't much. So I touched on it.
Right, and you said that you also liked nature in general.
I love nature. It's what I do. I plant flowers. So last year, I planted more sunflowers because if I plant 50 sunflowers, maybe five or 10 survive because bunnies love it, groundhogs, birds. They come at it from all different ends. So sometimes it gets decapitated. I've tried to put them back together. That doesn't generally work. But a squirrel or a bird must have taken a sunflower seed because I didn't plant it in front of my house.
Right.
But it was a skyscraper sunflower because it grew 9 feet 12 inches tall right in front of my house. I still have pictures, so I take a picture of it and then it got a little bit bigger.
Yep.
And I don't usually take selfies by myself, but in front of the sunflower, I was so proud. and again, I think my husband wanted to rip it out. He's like, why is this right in front of our house? I said, I don't know, I didn't do it. I didn't plant it there, but it grew right in front of my house, this gigantic sunflower, just one. The stalk was thick. I actually had to go to Lowe's at 7 a.m. because it started to flop over and buy a steak.
Nice.
Or because it would have just, totally flopped.
So you're going to have to post a picture in the comments after
I
this.
have them, yeah.
And so everybody can see the sunflower.
Both sunflowers.
And listen, if you got a really cool thing out in your garden that you think is cool, throw that in there too. It'll be a fun thing we'll do. Post your garden.
Sure.
Because that is one of your, like you said, I asked you what your favorite thing to do is at home, and you said it was gardening.
Nature, yeah, but love just be out in nature, planting things. I have tomatoes and basil and sage and rosemary and
making bracelets, painting, gardening.
Painting little rocks, little
You're a
affirmation
Disney
stones.
fan?
Love Disney. I mean, who doesn't like Disney? I always wanted to be Cinderella
surprised.
when I was a kid. And
I've interviewed people that don't like Disney.
Really?
It's a true story.
Oh no.
I'm a
Disney's
huge
awesome.
fan, but there are people that just don't want anything to do with it. So, so you also said that your brother moved to Australia. That's pretty cool, right?
He does. He lives in Australia.
You got to go there.
Yep.
And visit
2019.
him.
Correct.
And it was a cool trip.
It was a great trip. Yep.
And tell us why, because that was a cool story.
Well, honestly, it was my dad's 70th birthday, and my brother's been in Australia for almost 20 years now. So he said for my 70th birthday, I want my children and my grandchildren all in the same room. So we were able to make that happen, fortunately. So my husband had to stay back for work reasons, but my two boys and my dad popped on a plane. We went to Australia, and we just had the greatest time. It was because we were with family and we laughed a lot, and just to see my dad so happy to have his children again and his grandchildren in the same rooms. My nephews are at the time 3 and 6.
Right.
And we only get to see them through FaceTime. So we're growing, to actually touch my brother and my nephews, and you're in 3D. It's amazing.
Yes.
It's just a different feeling.
Very cool.
So having to do that was incredibly fortunate.
So something new. I'm going to do something new here. If you could, because we talked a little bit about this too. We're gonna skirt a left here. We can do this. See that? Or look at the talent we have.
Look at
so that. If you could recommend one book to everybody watching, what would that one book be?
Can I do 2?
You can do 2 if you want.
2. Okay, so the 4 agreements, which is excellent. Living by those agreements has really helped. And then The Alchemist. It's another. It's a boy on a spiritual journey, and just what he has to say in there, and just the meaning of the book.
What'd you get out of it?
It told me probably the interconnectedness between everything is what I got. Everybody gets something different out of it. My son actually just read it for English, and he came down. He's like, "It's the one book I read from front to back," and he loved it. And I was like,
nice.
I even sent an email to his English teacher saying, "Thank you so much for allowing these children to read this book, because he does. It just shows the interconnectedness in things, and everything's a journey. This boy's on a journey. So
well, life's a journey in general, right?
Life is a journey in general. Yes.
Awesome sauce. So that's cool. And so we'll drop that link in the chat as well, so that you guys know what that book is all about and where to get that book. So if anybody wants to get a hold of you, how would they do that?
You could reach me on LinkedIn or Google Gloucester County Chamber of Commerce or My email address is smyers, MYERS, @gc-chamber.com.
There you go.
Yep.
And of course, they're all over social media. There's Facebook pages, Instagram pages, all that kind of good stuff. So you'll find all the good stuff about the Chamber of Commerce. All you gotta do is take a look. So thank you.
Thank you
for being on.
This was so much fun.
We had a good time.
We did.
And to all you guys out there, keep on moving, keep on walking. Follow me on Instagram, and we will see you next time on Walkin' and Talkin' with Tim.